This is a trial presentation of my presentation on our trip to Egypt in 2026 with the TUT Trio of Kathy, Roger, and me. This slide just shows the history of Egypt compared to the length of time other civilizations existed, and Egypt made, especially in writing, architecture, science, and governance, major contributions. And so we fly into Cairo, and this is what it looked like from the air. And on our way from the airport to the hotel, gentlemen driving to work. And from the hotel room, this is what the city looked like. Pretty much every day we were there for 2 or 3 days before we took a plane to Luxor, and then for a couple of days when we came back. The air was pretty much like this all the time. Although we did have, at night from the hotel, interesting, lots of noise. Major area of town. So the first day after we got there, Kathy, Roger, and I went to the Grand Egyptian Museum. It's the largest museum in the world for a single civilization. And the statue you'll see over here was the greatest, most celebrated, most powerful pharaoh. It's the statue in the background. Ramses II had a 66-year reign. The picture over on the left, just inside the museum, just gives you an idea of the expanse. And we were able to go to the museum again when we came back from the cruise on the Nile. You'll see more pictures from it then. This is inside the museum, over 100,000 artifacts. I've just got a couple here. This one is from a decorated wall in a tomb chapel. Similarly, one here, this happened to be a funeral procession of a guy named Stephaneshatef, and they're reciting funerary spells to guide you to the afterlife, and priests over on the left side are carrying papyrus rolls to help you in your journey. There's an actual additional museum right next to the Grand Egyptian Museum, which is built just for the Khufu ships, the two of them. This one, as it says, intact full-size solar bark, which below it explains the vessels used by the sun god Ra in ancient Egyptian mythologies. Kathy and Roger are standing aside it here. And it was sealed in a pit alongside the Great Pyramid of the Pharaoh Khufu around 2500 BC. It's one of two barks that were rediscovered in 1954. They had been buried for, over 3,000 years. Also, that same day that we were at the Grand Egyptian Museum, we went to the tomb of Kajemi. This particular wall relief shows lots of animals. It's got a lot of different kind of fishes. It's got a hippo over on the left side at the bottom, a crocodile, but no camels. Essentially because camels did not exist in Egypt until much later. I think it was Alexander that brought them from areas like Syria. And in the same relief, you see up at the top of it, it's essentially livestock breeding is being shown. And this is from 2300 BC. And this is another one from that same tomb. It shows hippo hunting. Poor little hippos down at the bottom being attacked by the Egyptian fishermen. We also, in that same day, stopped for lunch, and we heard this on our way out. Here we go. Shorten the video a bit. This one is also that same day we visited the Mosque of Muhammad Ali. It's also called the Alabaster Mosque. I especially wanted this picture over on the left. We didn't see very many women dressed in a full burqa like the gal in pink here in the front of the mosque. And I took, well, a number of pictures from inside, but this one on the right just shows you one to give you an idea of what the mosque looks like inside. The same day, very close by to the mosque is the Citadel. And it was Egypt's seat of government for 700 years. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was constructed about 1176 by Saladin, the first sultan of both Egypt and Syria. Saladin was famous for, during the Third Crusade, where he defeated the Crusaders at the decisive Battle of Hattin in 1187, capturing Jerusalem. If you're interested in that, Ridley Scott had a movie in 2005 called The Kingdom of Heaven, which shows you that battle and the capturing of Jerusalem by the Muslims. Same day, we saw the Great Pyramid and the Pyramid of Khafre. They're the largest pyramids built in ancient Egypt. They're listed as one of the 7 wonders of the world and the oldest of the ancient wonders and the only one still in existence. The Great Sphinx is built about the same time, about 2600 BC. I didn't take this photo. It was one to show you the expanse. See the writers down in the lower left corner to give you an idea of how massive these are. But we did go alongside that Great Pyramid of Khafre. I took 2 pictures, one on the left, one perspective, but then also on the right, you can see how deep it is, how far he goes, and the people getting smaller and smaller all the way down to the end there. Not far from those pyramids is the Great Sphinx. Roger and Kathy were in front there. Roger's the tall one, right in front, wearing black, and Kathy's just over with a great big floppy hat, just to his right. The Sphinx actually was, and the pyramids for that matter, it was just getting better and better each day as we started to see the temples and the tombs. This next picture shows them getting on camels. I chose not to get on the camel for a little bit of a ride. I have video of them riding as well. They had about a 15-20 minute ride, and they enjoyed it, but I had no particular interest in it. So after that day, which was a pretty long day, the next day we were off on the airplane from Cairo, about a 45-minute flight, down to Luxor, where we got on the Viking cruise ship, the Thoth, Thoth, which is, you see a picture of it over on the left. None of us took a picture of the TUT from outside, surprisingly. I don't know why. I have video later just show you what it looks like on the top part there on the sun deck. That's a little later. And here's where we're going. Everything underlined in red. First starting with on the left side, the Temple of Dendera. Then we went to the Valley of Kings. And right next to the Valley of Kings is a red line under what looks like the Hatshepsut Temple, which we'll see pictures of. It looks exactly like that. Over on that side, across the river, across the Nile, on the left side there is the Temple of Karnak. We went to see that eventually. Further down, the Esna Temple, and finally down on the left side, the Edfu Temple. Over on the right, Temple of Komombo. This is all in the Aswan area, near the Aswan Dam. And we're going to go to the Temple of Philae, is underlined. And eventually we saw Lake Nasser. We were out on Lake Nasser for a bit. It's a 300-mile lake that was created by the dam. Most of the lake rather is in Sudan, actually. Here we are at the Karnak temples. On the left side, that's a view coming into it. You'll notice I have on the right side some historical pictures from 1895, and way over on the right side of this slide, you see it looks exactly the same now as it did in 1895. Those sphinxes you see lining the entrance are actually ram's head sphinxes. They had not just the lion's head that you're familiar with, but they also had ram's head sphinxes and other kinds of heads on various sphinxes in Egypt. Here's a close-up view of the ram's head sphinxes. And inside the temple, you see a huge obelisk, and there are two primary significant obelisks here. The most prominent is a 97-foot red granite obelisk of Pharaoh Hatshepsut. She's the one who has a temple that we're also going to see a little bit later on. Here we have cattle grazing. We're back on the river. Took one quick picture. I have numerous videos of us going down the Nile on our way to various temples. This is just a slide. Here's the obelisk in the Luxor temple. It's a 3,000-year-old, 23-meter pink granite monument, originally from this temple of Luxor. Kathy and Roger right in front there. We got there. It was scheduled to be just at dusk so that we could see it with the lights lighting up the temple. And so the obelisk was actually taken to Paris by the French. It was presented to the French actually by Muhammad Ali Pasha in 1829, and it now resides in Paris in the Place de la Concorde. And it was one of two obelisks built by Ramses II about 1400 BC. And in front of the temple there, behind Roger and Kathy, are two seated Ramses. That's the very entrance there that you would walk in, and four standing ones. You can see them all there. This is more from inside the Luxor temple. Ramses over on the left there. And he's all over the place, Ramses II. Another picture inside the temple, Kathy in front of it. A little bit different perspective on the columns, which are many, many columns in all of the temples we visited. Another view inside Luxor. You see the size of the people compared to the size of the statues. We're back out on the river onto Dendera Temple down the Nile further. This was a couple of guys came right up to the cruise ship. I was up on the second level, and they would throw up packages. You can see them in their boat. These are all either tablecloths or shirts and other kind of clothes in plastic bags. They throw them up to you, and then they demand a certain amount of money, maybe $30 or $40, and then eventually you get them down to about $10, and they're fine. They just came up and handed me basic money, or they could, if they couldn't reach me, they'd throw it up. And that, on the right side, that tablecloth we actually have right here in the house. I brought it back. Dendera Temple Complex. And it's one of the best preserved temple complexes of ancient Egypt. When you get inside, you see things like this. Let me do the video first, and then we'll talk a little bit about Isis and Osiris and Horus. But this gives you a sense, see the people down below and how tall these columns are, and the amount of hieroglyphics and detail all the way up to the ceiling. Yeah, amazing. And Isis was first mentioned about 2700 BC as one of the main characters in the Osiris myth, which was one of the main characters, the deities that were worshipped for centuries. And the myth involves her, Isis, resurrecting her slain brother and husband. That wasn't that unusual to marry your brother. Slain by Set, another famous god. And Osiris is the one who was murdered, but then he was resurrected, and he resurrected by Isis, and he produced an heir, Horus. And over on the left side, typically you would see Isis represented with a solar disk on the top of her head there with two horns. Osiris typically represented this way and he's the god of the dead because he'd been resurrected. If you look at the throne on top of his head, there are the two on the side of it, ostrich feathers, and the two things he's holding are things you could flagellate somebody with. They're the symbols of governing. And finally, Horus, the one who became the heir of Isis and Osiris after Osiris was resurrected, you'll see him fairly often on the reliefs on the temples and in the tombs. He has the falcon head typically. He also down in his left hand has the symbol of life, the little key. Also in this particular temple, on the right, there's a ritual offering scene involving a pharaoh or a deity making an offering of incense to another deity, accompanied by extensive hieroglyphic text detailing the ritual actions being performed. On the left side, I just wanted to see a little bit closer detail on the ceiling and what it looks like. It's pretty amazing detail. And this is at the very top of that. You saw how high the columns were. In this one, above the columns, you see a large sun disk. This is on the right side. A large sun disk flanked by the outspread wings of Horus. He was the one we saw as the falcon head, typically. That's at the very top of one of these columns. Horus was the sky god. And this particular, still in the same temple, it's rare to have in temples a carving of Cleopatra VII, Philopator she was called. She's the popular, well-known Cleopatra, and her son Ptolemy. So we're on the right side now, she's on the left, he's on the right. This is her son Ptolemy the 15th, Philopator Caesar, or Caesarion. He was fathered by Julius Caesar. In her hand, looks like she has probably a papyrus coming out of that cup. And on the right side is just the same picture of them, but further away on the outside of this temple. Now we're on our way on the bus to the Valley of the Kings. There's the highway sign, and then this shows once we got off the bus, take another little transport bus to go up in. And you get an idea. This is just the beginning of it. You see the entrance to one of the tombs over on the right side, but then there's a whole bunch more of them, as you'll see in the next slide. The Valley of the Kings. On the left side, you see a list of about 18 different tombs. Most of them were open on that day. The two that I went into are highlighted in yellow. The first one up there is the Seti, KV-17. And the one down at the bottom is KV-62, Tutankhamun. The one on the right side of this, it talks about Seti and his significance. There are, as you notice, later there'll be lots of Ramses in that list of tombs that are open. Ramses the 7th and the 4th and the 9th and so forth. But I'll show you more from Seti and the Tut tombs coming up. This is the Seti tomb. Looks like that might be right above you can see the people going on the left side. It looks like Roger, the second guy there with the black baseball cap. That's his Navy cap. It's pretty far down on these wooden stairs into the tomb, and even here on the entrance you see all the color. On the right side of that gives you perspective from going the other direction. This Seti was the father of Ramses II, actually, so pretty popular, pretty important guy. This is just, again, from inside Seti's tomb. Tremendous detail. Oh, there's some video. Almost forgot that. That's Kathy right there, big hat. This gives you an idea of what it's like inside the tomb. A little more full-fledged. Okay. This is from the burial chamber and treasury of Tutankhamun. As it says here, there was a set of 4 gilded wood shards. I'm reading at the top. A set of 4. Let me see if I can get a second. I want to do that. Oh, here we go. Highlighter. No, we want a pen. No, we want a laser pointer. Okay. Here it says 4 gilded wood shrines over in this area, and you're going to see those exactly like that. The pictures I took inside the Grand Egyptian Museum. That's on our next slide. So remember that. And we'll also see down here, well, it was interesting because they were built inside one another, like a Russian doll. And we'll also see the coffin here, and we'll see the gold mask on the next slide. Let's see. Boom. There they are. Again, I'm pointing over here. There's a large one, and then another one smaller, and another one smaller, and so forth. That was and there's the coffin, and on the left and on the right, that solid gold mask that you're all very familiar with. And next slide, I think I might be inside the actual tomb. These pictures were from the Grand Egyptian Museum. They probably took those the day that Viking had a tour of the gem for about half a day, and it focused on the 5,000, more than 5,000 items they found in King Tut's tomb. That's where the coffin would have been sitting, and this is just a continuation around the corner there. Gentleman there, I was going to just take a selfie, and this, when I was doing it, the guy behind me, I don't know where he's from, but he offered to take a picture of me, so I agreed to do that. Inside King Tut's tomb. Now we're on our way to another area in the Valley of the Kings. It's the temple we talked about earlier, the temple of Hatshepsut. She was a very famous reigning queen or pharaoh in Egypt. There were quite a few female pharaohs, actually. That's what it looks like from a distance, walking toward it. Look at the size of this cliff. It's the mortuary temple of the pharaoh Hatshepsut. She's the Holy of Holies. It was built during her reign, and it's opposite Luxor on the other side of the river, and it's a masterpiece of ancient architecture. She was Egypt's second confirmed woman who ruled in her own right. Closer, as you walk up all those stairs, you get to the top, and then you have a video. I'm waiting for it to play. I thought it was video, but that's a closer view. And these statues that run the entire width. Oh, there it is. There's the video. You get a sense of the expanse. And it's just continuous. One statue after another, they're about the same. That's not a picture I took. I couldn't get one like that to show you the expanse of it and how absolutely huge it is. An amazing architecture. In the same area, I noticed one of the guards who was with us finally got a picture of the gun he was carrying. They usually kept it under their jacket, so you never got to see it. So I thought I'd get a picture of that. And I couldn't. I tried to use Google Images to find out what kind of weapon he has, but it just comes up with other things that look like that but are unrelated to guns. Now we're on to the Esna Temple via the locks. Over on the left side over here, this is our approach. And then over here on the right, we had our guys. Hang on, let's see if I can get this thing to play. There we go. They're
going through the locks.
very near the locks up there.
And these guys are still throwing up stuff for us to buy.
Yep, like the ones that I bought that tablecloth for. They just keep at it. The lock of Esna is the gate for the Egypt River cruises between Luxor and Aswan. And years ago, it once took 2 days to go through, so cruise ships like ours would have to wait up to 2 days to go through. It was really a pain. Now it's relatively minutes to open that we had to wait there, maybe 15 or 20 minutes. And we reached the Esna Temple in the town of Esna, and it's now 30 feet below street level. And so it's one of the best preserved temples, but it also has water pumping stations they had to put in to keep the water out because it's so low. Inside, you can see again the size of the people compared to the size of those columns. Amazing. And over the centuries, fires were lit inside for illumination and warmth, and they gradually coated the bright paintings in the ceilings, interior walls, and thick layers of dirt and soot. And so it wasn't until about 2018 that these halls released were still completely covered in soot, and they cleaned them, the layers of soot, dust, and dirt, so the bright colors could be seen. So fairly recent, and I'm glad they did it. Again, inside, give you a better view, close-up of the top of that column and the reliefs that are on the wall there. And the cleaning revealed these hitherto hidden images and nearly 200 painted inscriptions on the ceiling and on the cross beams across there. They're still excavating. This is right behind the temple, the Esna temple. They're still excavating, excavating for remains.
Our time over here. When we finish depositing, we can decide exactly whether we can remove the mask or leave it there. These guys get paid by the government? These are employed by the Egyptian government. These are archaeologists.
A mosque behind the temple. We're on the river again. Just to give you a sense of what it feels like. Going down, we're going to Aswan Dam and a Nubian village, and they're going to do a felucca sale. Look at the size of that cruise ship, and they're all over the river, just tons of them. This is the top of the Toth Viking cruise ship, just to give you a sense of what that sun deck is like. Cruising down the Nile. Pretty cool. And we reached the Aswan Dam. It's one of the world's largest embankment dams, built between 1960 and 70 to better control flooding, provide more water storage for irrigation, and generate electricity. It's pretty cool. Leaving the dam, we get on a boat. Let's see. This should be a video, yeah. That's Cathy Roger right at the end there. And we said this was a wind-powered felucca, but they had a backup system, Viking did, in case you lost the wind. This also happens to be the boat that eventually when we were coming back to the dock, we rammed into a big freighter because the wind died down, or we were using the wind. The wind, it was calm, but then all of a sudden the wind picked up and pushed it right in. We collided with a tanker at the dock. Here we go. This is what it's like to go down. This is a motor-powered boat down the Nile to the Nubian village. And there were 3 boats, one for each of the 3 Nile cruise people from the top. There were A, B, and C during the whole time. And further down, some camels over there in the desert. And we reached the village, went in one of the houses, and was find Kathy getting a crocodile here. Yeah, she's there with a young croc in her hands. And that's our tour guide, Rhonda, over there again. We're on our way, after the Nubian village, on our way to the papyrus factory and the Philae temple. Now, papyrus turns out to be pretty interesting. The Egyptians have used papyrus in the construction of not just paper, papyrus to write on, but other artifacts like reed boats, mats, rope, sandals, and baskets. The papyrus you see right here is in our hallway. I was able to get a piece of it made when we went to the papyrus factory. And over here is my name in hieroglyphics, P-E-R-R-Y. Papyrus has a really interesting history. I'll talk about it on the next slide. Oh, and on the right, there's we are B. There was A, B, and C. We had 3 different Egyptologists. And you need a college degree in it to do things like this. They know a tremendous amount over 3,000 year history. And got another picture of one of our guard with a gun. But papyrus, something called the Diary of Merer. This is a piece of it. It's a 4,500-year-old logbook. Papyrus basically lasts forever. This particular papyrus is the oldest papyrus ever found. It was written on it by an inspector during the reign of Pharaoh Khufu. Remember the Khufu boat, solar boat? It details the transport of white limestone from Tura to Giza for the Great Pyramid. And it contains information in neat hieroglyphics about the lives of pyramid workers, including transporting materials down the Nile River, and tallies food and supplies like sheep and so forth. And there's an animal right there. Another one there. So, papyrus, pretty cool stuff. Then we reach the Philae temple. It's the complex downstream from Lake Nasser. Downstream meaning north, because the Nile starts way down in Lake Victoria, way south of Egypt. And this particular temple is a Ptolemaic era monument dedicated to Isis. Remember her? It's renowned as the last center of ancient Egyptian religion. It was moved to the Angelica Island in the 1970s to save it from submersion by the Aswan High Dam. So we took a little boat out to it because it's on a little island near Aswan. And this, just going through this temple, you realize that dedication that survived thousands of years. They understood the divinity in the details and the true magic. I'm reading from something I found. The true magic of Egypt isn't just found in the massive sweeping scale of the pyramids. It's hidden in the breathtaking, meticulous detail left behind by master craftsmen. You're not just visiting monuments, you're traveling to read the stones, feel the energy of the sacred spaces, and witness the artistry of the ancients up close. So there, you doubters. Over on the left, this is from the Philae temple, depicts the goddess Hathor on the left and the god Horus. Remember the falcon head of Horus, the son of Isis and Osiris? On the right, one of the columns, a nice Christian cross. It was only every temple we were in, they talked about how Christians lived there for a period of years and they loved to scratch out anything dealing with these gods that were worshipped by the Egyptians. So they got to put their mark on it. But they also lived there. It was Esna had Christians living in it, and they all did. They all did. Amazing. This one, Rhonda, our guide, pointed out, the last inscription from ancient Egypt in the 6th century AD. And it got scratched out, probably again from the Christians, not wanting any reference to deities that weren't their own. Kamombo, our last temple before heading back to Cairo. Much of it, as this temple was destroyed by the Nile, earthquakes, and later builders who used its stones for other projects. But some of the reliefs inside were defaced by Copts, a Christian branch, who once used the temple as a church, widely considered the closest ancient equivalent to a specialized hospital or medical clinic. The temple is famous among historians for providing some of the earliest evidence of advanced medical practices in the ancient world. And Craig would like this next picture. It appears to depict a wide array of surgical instruments, including scalpels, forceps, bone saws, dilators, and even birthing chairs. So an ancient hospital. And they also mentioned that there were a large percentage of the doctors were women. And this is thousands of years ago. This particular one, pilgrims from across Egypt would travel here to this Komombo temple to seek treatment for physical ailments, particularly fertility issues. And as our guide pointed out, essentially, this is one of the few examples you'll see on the Egyptian walls of instruments being used. There's a crocodile there. They also had a crocodile museum right next to this particular temple. But one of the ways apparently of dealing with fertility issues, they tell women who were having trouble, they would give them a cotton ball or with somebody else's sperm, they put it in your vagina, and if you got pregnant, then you think it was magic, and so you visit these priests for more information as well. This also in the Philae temple shows Horus, again over here, a falcon head, the son of Isis and Osiris, presenting Ptolemy the Eighth. Oh, we forgot to point out the Ptolemaic era is while the Greeks were in control. Cleopatra was Greek. Presenting the sword of victory, you notice this one here, the bent sword of victory. And behind Ptolemy are two Cleopatras, his sister wife and his co-ruler Cleopatra II. Oh, and another Cleo. Okay. Two Cleopatras. Komombo was not the last temple. Edfu, built again in the Ptolemaic kingdom between 200 and 57 BC. The inscriptions on its walls, this looks like Horus also, doesn't it? The falcon head. Provide important information on language, myth, and religion during the Hellenistic period, when the Greeks were there, in other words. And finally, sure, this is just the inside. Oh, video. That's what it is. To give you an idea what it was like once you get inside the Edfu. One more bloody temple. Interestingly, inside this temple, the Egyptians had a number system reflected here, and our guide pointed this one out. They also did fractions. Let me show you the number system. You see this guy, that's 1 million. Then that's supposed to be a frog or something. It's the 100,000, there's 300,000 there. These are 10,000 each, so 30,000. And here's 3 more of the thousands, and 3 more of the hundreds, 3 more of the tens, and then just 1 apparently. So 1,333,000. But the fractions, I don't show them here, but the fractions, they didn't exist as we know them in Europe until the 17th century. Egyptians were using them from as early as 1800 BC. In other words, 3,500 years before the Europeans. They were using fractions. Last slide. The tomb of Ankh-Mahor. As it turns out, well, if you take a look at what this guy seems to be doing, well, it's not real clear. He's doing it over here too. It seems to be doing something with this thing sticking out from this guy. Yeah, circumcision was practiced in ancient Egypt. It was a common cultural and religious practice that dates back to 2700 BC. Slideshow ended. If you have any questions about Egypt, I remember some of the things they told us over 8 or 9 days.